Hello, my name is Anita Howard. I'm one of the co-founders of ICE, which is a global community of corporate event planners. I would like to say thank you to M&IT for inviting me today to present how to actually create the perfect goodie bag and why. We actually did one for our event in July that the team at M&IT attended, and I think they loved it because we had lots of different engagement pieces. We've got a slideshow just to give you some ideas of what we did, but also to share some of the things that we learned, because I think this is something really crucial when you're creating a goodie bag, because there's lots and lots of lessons. So let's start our presentation here. I'm going to go small in the corner there, not too bad. So the perfect goodie bag. So I love this picture. This is a man going, okay, come into the sweetie shop. And when you're thinking about doing your pack, you really do need to consider this excitement. Remember being a child and being excited going into that lovely sweetie shop. So obviously we look at our event briefs, you know, that we get from our clients and everything else. So it's really important to highlight some of the things that they really want to achieve. And we do this naturally. We obviously do it naturally. But I think when it comes to the event pack, you must ensure that basically it is hitting the event brief. And we always say one of the things it's really important to do is actually to enhance the engagement you get with your audience, because we're all virtual now, which is sad, but we're all getting used to it. But it's really, really important that when you're thinking of the pack, everything you put within the pack will enhance the engagement. One of the things that I thought I'd just kind of like mention here, and sorry for the swear word, but a recent survey that we've done with the ICE community is sustainability is so important for them still, even though we're in lockdown at the moment. They really do know that when we come back, we've got to reinvent differently, and we mustn't bring back bad behaviours. So the event pack has to be considered. I always liken this to, you know, when you get a Christmas cracker, which is lovely, but you buy the cheaper ones, you just look at the stuff and then throw it away. It really must be engaging and sustainable as well. So this is such an obvious thing to say, but you know, the on brand and on message side of things is really important. We think everything you do within the pack has to be tactile. We always say it's a celebration, you know, the fun element. It's got to be that kind of like the wow factor. When they open it up, they actually feel very special, that they actually have been involved with the event and that they'll continue being involved with the event going forward. So I think that's quite crucial to consider. We always say this, you know, it's similar to what we do in live events, but you know, the whole thing about your pack is basically to G the guests up, get them really excited that they're going to your event. And I know it's difficult because everyone's going, oh, well, what can you do? But actually think about your event brief, think about how the guests are going to interact with the stuff that they actually get within their pack. So I think that the G up is very, and this lovely little girl's face actually sums up how they must be so excited. We always think then, you know, when you're developing the pack is to make sure that you've actually got like your post-event activities will continue the engagements. So we set, I'll give you some examples in a moment of what we actually did to continue the engagement, but I think this is really quite important to consider. Now, an element to this, and I know it sounds really funny, but sourcing and fulfillment. Of course you'll source the products, of course you'll fulfill them. But because of event timelines now, you know, being so close, people making decisions to hold an event, you know, within a month, because we're all online and it's all feasible. So you have to be quite active in sourcing the right sustainable products and make sure that it's actually available, because I think that is something that we were taken by surprise for. We thought, oh, cocktail shakers, that will be fine to include within our pack. But what we hadn't realised, our supplier during lockdown had sold something like 60,000 cocktail shakers in about a month. So we couldn't access the cocktail shakers very easily. It was quite an issue, but it was quite an interesting thing. I hadn't even thought about that when we were planning the pack. You know, we work with an agency, Yeah Create, and they've helped us obviously come up with these ideas. But actually, you know, you have to bear this in mind, that sourcing is an issue. Fulfillment as well. So when they open the pack up, it's got to have the wow factor that's being presented. You know, it's going through the post, so it's going to be shook around. And so I think fulfillment has to be considered, because they've got to, when they open up your goodie bag, they have to have that element of, it's fantastic. So I was going to show you now, I'm just going to run through some of our case studies of what we actually did. So this was our ice pack, and basically this one I think has been back from Russia and back, so it looks a bit tacky. But what we did just before the event, we actually got the audience very involved with being excited, being very excited about what was going to be in their pack. We actually sent out our pack literally so it would land on people's desks 1 week before the event was due to take place. It was an issue getting people's home addresses, and we obviously had to follow lots of GDPR conversations with various people, and we, you know, I think that's something really important to consider. So we got them all excited and everything else, and they were very, very happy, and social media was going mad at this point. We then basically sent, the pack then arrived, and on the pack we actually included sponsors' logos and things like that. So sponsors got quite a lot of profile out of it as well, which I think in the virtual world is so important when you're selling sponsorship. We then actually, so this was our contents. I hope you can see that okay, but we actually had sort of like lots of fun doing this. So our community, our brief is all about inspiring, about having fun and celebrating and recognising our corporate planners. So within the pack, we based everything on this element, and you'll see that we actually had a little tin there, which is quite interesting. And it was one of those pull ring things, so it adds to the surprise. And people were pulling those at a certain time, which I'll show you in a moment. We then basically sent them in the pack is like what to do. It's a good old fashioned joining pack. You know, remember those days of direct mail? We just gave very clear instructions. We even told them to dress up, which was quite wonderful. So we said dress up posh, because we were so bored of dressing down during lockdown. And we even had some great stuff where people were walking along a corridor, like their front landing, pretending they were going to the Oscars. So that was really brilliant. And that was obviously in the instruction as well. So the fun element, we sent out recipe cards, which actually had a cocktail recipe to go with the gin. There was a gin cocktail, and there was also a mocktail. So we did it for people that don't drink, which was obviously something very good. But it was people loved the cocktails and everything else. We then did a recipe for a salad, because our thing is about, it's usually an award ceremony. So they basically made their salad, and people did do this, and it was great fun. And for those that are on it, you can see there's a spelling mistake on that slide there, but that was picked up, and obviously these old slides. Anyway, so then we actually, you know, back to this idea about being tactile. So we got people to make a bread bun, which was, we had a best bread bun competition, which was very, very funny. It was where people were actually making great buns, and some were cheating, just like myself, and went down the co-ops. But they, and we had a great thing where on the night they actually won a bottle of Bolly for the best one around their table. So that was really well received. So this was a crucial element to the goodie bag that you're doing. So I don't think we should just send stuff out to people unless they were engaged. So I think one of the things that we did, and we will continue to do, is that we actually did a thing called a Zoom table, obviously a breakout room, which we're all used to now. But in the breakout room, there was activities for them to do, obviously to show their best bun competition. So they had to vote on that together. We also had a cocktail making session, and the really interesting thing is when we were planning this part of the day or the evening, we actually were going to leave like 15 minutes only, because we thought, God, everyone's going to be so bored of being on a Zoom table, and they might not, we don't want those awkward things to happen. And quite interestingly, because of the goodie bag and the contents we had given them, they actually wanted longer. So we will be doing this next time to make sure that we have half an hour maybe together chatting. Some people want an hour, but I think that's a step too far. So that was quite an interesting thing, is that because the goodie bag was tactile, people loved being involved with it, they actually wanted to stay on and chat longer, which was just a great coup for the sponsors as well as the guests around the tables. So why do a goodie bag? You can see the whole thing about engagement, the tactile and everything else. But one of the things, and I love Dale, and I know a lot of you know him, but the future is hybrid. And I'm really excited about it being hybrid, because we actually increased our community threefold by actually having hybrid and, sort of a hybrid event. So I think, the goodie bags are even more important, because once we go to live events one day soon, hopefully, is that we must keep the virtual audience engaged in some way. And I think going back to the pack of being tactile and interactive is going to be so important. So now I know we're coming up to Q&A now, so I just really wanted to summarise for you the things that we've just gone through. So obviously plan, make sure that the goodie bag is on brief, and make sure it's sustainable, because I'd hate anyone just to be producing a Christmas cracker content type thing. Make sure it's on brand and message. Really important, the tactile, I keep using that word, but it is the key to your goodie pack for your guests. Think of your engagement ideas so that you can activate social media, and that thing about actually getting people so excited about it is really important. And obviously your goodie bag needs to be fun, and make sure there's lots of interaction. So I think that's that for me, and obviously over to the studio now for Q&A. Thank you very much.